that don't know me, my name is Yvonne Gijing. I am the chairperson of this beautiful education committee. I'm super excited to be here with everybody today and super excited to hear what our presenters have to offer. Um, I know first up we have Democracy Prep. Are they here?
Yes, they're here. The school and the landlord is here, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Anybody from Democracy Prep want to come off mute and
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph, so much. My name is Princess Lyles. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs for Democracy Prep. We're really excited to be here. I'm joined by our Superintendent, Steve Popper, and we will be doing this presentation together. Also, our principal for our new school, Catherine Perez, she's also on the line. So toward the end, Catherine, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of speak about what you've been doing thus far and the outlook there. You can go to the next slide. So Democracy Prep, we were here in the last meeting. We were joined by our CEO, Natasha Trivers, and myself, but just wanted to come back and give, more of a presentation and be on your docket, just so you know what we're doing and who we are. You can go to the next one. So Democracy Prep Public Schools has been around since 2005. Our mission is to educate responsible citizen scholars for success in the college of their choice and a life of active citizenship. We have 12 schools to date in New York and 23 overall throughout the country. We have other schools. You can go to the next slide. As you'll see, New York, New Jersey, Camden, New Jersey, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Texas, and Las Vegas. But we were founded in Harlem. We also have Bronx Prep, which is on 3rd Avenue. And we are opening a new school, Democracy Prep Endurance Elementary School, at 1529 Williamsbridge Road. We're opening in September. But this is really about the groundbreaking that we're doing and working with Peter and his team for 1000 Westchester Square, which we're really, really excited about, to have a new school ground up building. You can go to the next one. I'm gonna pass it over to our superintendent, Steve Popper, and we'll go back and forth a little bit.
Thank you so much, Princess. Can you all hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Steve.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. As Princess said, my name is Steve Popper. I'm our network school superintendent. Just want to thank you all so much for welcoming us this evening. So as Princess said, I'm going to speak a little bit to our values. So a few core things that really drive what we do in our school. The first is all scholars. So we actively recruit students who might be at risk of academic struggle or failure. That includes those with English language learner classifications, students with IEPs, students with learning disabilities, 504 plans. And we really endeavor to enroll our scholars who are in high need subgroups in numbers greater than or equal to those of our zoned public schools located in the surrounding districts. Increased academic rigor is also critical and core to our approach in our schools. Our curriculum is genuinely a college prep curriculum, and we've had a really strong track record of working with and supporting and empowering our scholars to be academically ready for college and the next step. Civics, I'll speak more to in a little bit, but it's also a core feature. It's something we really believe sets us apart as a network of schools. We put a really explicit focus on preparing our scholars to be not just mathematicians, not just strong readers, not just strong in history class, but also civic leaders in their school communities. And then after they leave our doors at Democracy Prep. And so we know for us, civics is not just about voting. It's about our scholars' awareness of current events. It's about their advocacy for causes that they're deeply passionate about. And it's about our scholars ultimately being change makers in their societies to make their communities an even better place. You also see inspiring talent here. We really deeply invest in our people through really strong training, and our teachers and our staff get a ton of feedback from amazing principals and school leaders like Catherine, who's here with us tonight, so that our people are really supported just to be constantly pushed to be better on behalf of our scholars and families every day. You can go to our next slide, please. Joyous culture is so important to who we are. Our school communities are safe, they're structured, and ultimately, probably most importantly, designed to be joyful with our scholars. And that really helps to drive a positive culture, but also really great academic results that we've had. More time, we do believe that more time, when it's used well, holds amazing power for our kids. That's through a longer school day, a longer school year. And we also use more time for our scholars to participate in really engaging extracurricular activities as well. You see public funds here. We work to be a model for what's possible on public funds in the public education sector. And so our core programming is really funded through per pupil spending. And then lastly, in terms of our values, is thoughtful data. So our team, our leaders, our teachers, our staff, they're constantly looking at and analyzing student data to really drive effective instruction so that we're not just guessing where our students are at, we're really grounding all the decisions we make in student achievement data. So this is some of our core values that really drive who we are and what we do.
You can go to the next one. Scholar life, and you can go to the next one too. We just wanted to ground you up a little bit and knowing, oh, this one didn't come over quite so well in the PDF format. That's okay. We just wanted to show you a little bit about like what the school day looks like. Again, we are going to be opening an elementary school. So you'll see, you can't really see it that well here, but the more time, so during during non-COVID times and a normal course of our day, we start at 7:30 and often go to about 4:15 for that more time on instruction, as we noted earlier. You can go to the next one. This is the best one. And the next one.
Great. So I mentioned civics before. This is really that second core part of our mission. But before our scholars graduate, it's actually an expectation of all students that they complete a set of civic skills. The idea here is that a democracy prep diploma should really mean something, not just as it relates to academics, but also to active citizenship. And so all of our scholars should experience a certain set of civic experiences, and they do everything from public oral presentations, sort of just like this one, to voter registration, to teaching and mentoring of younger students as well. Because again, we really feel that that civic experience, in addition to academics, is so critical to who we are and what we do at EP. You can go to our next slide. Thank you. And so we really want our scholars, as it says here, to get into quote unquote good trouble, in the words of the late Congressman John Lewis. What we mean by that is that we deeply believe they're empowered to make the world a better place. And if that means that they want to speak out against injustice or do something about a cause they feel is critical to them, or something that's happening in society or the world that's not right, then we actually really actively encourage that. And so ultimately, the data is really promising in this area. A recent study actually found that scholars admitted to our schools are actually more likely to register to vote and more likely actually to vote in a presidential election, which we're excited to see those preliminary results.
You can continue. Yep. Okay. You can go to the next one. Yeah. And we just wanted to show that we are molding our students to be holistic scholars. So we value academics very highly, but we also value the arts and athletics and the like very highly. So this is just some showings of some of our visual arts projects. You can go to the next one. The next slide shows our speech and debate team that has won awards all over the country. They are very, very impressive. I'll give you an example. We had an internal town hall a few months ago, which my team runs, and we had a 7th grade scholar, the speech and debate coach said, "Oh, you should have the 7th grade scholar be your MC." And I was like, I don't know if we should have a 7th grade scholar be our MC. And she was phenomenal. So the work that they're doing on our speech and debate team is just really, really top notch. They go to Yale, they go to Stanford, and they place really highly in all these places, and it really sets them up for success to be prepared to be active citizens, which we are really trying to get to. So we can go to the next one. We also have, and these are just snapshots of things that our scholars do. We have a very intensive music academy for scholars that are in grades K through 12 throughout our schools. Democracy Prep Endurance, which will be starting next year, will start with kindergarten and 1st grade. And then every year we will be adding on an additional grade. And so when we get to the new space, hopefully in 2 years on Westchester Square, those students will be in 2nd and 3rd grade, and it'll eventually build out to 2 K through 5 schools. We can go to the next one. And the next one, something that we're really, really proud of in our network is that we bring back our alumni to work with us. So our alumni work with us as teachers and as operations managers in our schools, and actually the assistant to the CEO of the network is a DP alum. And so we're really, really proud of the fact that like we guarantee our product. Like, you know, if we are, you know, teaching our students, we believe that they can also come back and work for us. And they are, you know, our best advocates. So that's just something that we're really proud of as a network. And we have over 30 alumni throughout the network in our different regions that work for the schools. You can go to the next one. I'll pass it to Steve.
Great. So excited to talk a little bit more in closing about some more results. So before I spoke about the impacts and the results of some of the civic aspects of our mission, we've also seen some really compelling and exciting results in that other core aspect of our mission, which is college success, since we are a college prep network of schools. And so as you can see here, the big headline is that while our schools serve predominantly low-income students, our 6-year college completion rate is actually on par with the top quartile of socioeconomic status students. So while there's certainly much more work for us to do here, and we're not ever satisfied with these results, this is really compelling and some really promising data so far. We take really seriously the idea that when a student graduates from a democracy prep high school, we don't just say, goodbye, good luck. We say you're still and always a part of our community, and we actually have a dedicated team at our network that works to support our alums while whatever happens after high school, you know, whether that is through making sure that they can navigate this new landscape of college, giving them college advising, supporting them in really targeted ways. It's not just, okay, you're done with DP once you're done with high school. We're going to continue to support you and actually dedicate folks to supporting our alums at our network level as well, to make sure that whatever happens after high school, that our alums, as Princess said, can feel like they can come back to us, stay connected, and get the support and advising that they need. We can go to our next slide. So we've had some also really exciting college application results of late. So this is some results from last year, from the 2020 application season, but our Democracy Prep High School seniors received, on average, almost 5 college acceptances each. Our scholars were accepted into a variety of historically Black colleges and universities, including everywhere from Howard to Morehouse to Spelman, North Carolina A&T, Hampton, and Grambling State, among others. Our seniors got into all 8 of the Ivy League schools and 6 of the prestigious sister schools as well. And 75% of all college acceptances were to schools ranked, according to U.S. News and World Report, competitive or above. And so at the core of this is that we have dedicated college counselors who work at our high schools, who work to match students with the best possible college for them, to make sure that we're not just sort of like telling our students, good luck, here's the application, go for it. We're actually giving them really one-on-one targeted supportive advising throughout the college application season. And we've seen some really great results as a result of that approach. So I think that's actually it. This is just a quick bio of our CEO, and you'll see me on the next slide. Turns out by chance on the next slide, I'm wearing the same shirt that I was in that photo right now, just by coincidence. It's kind of funny that that happened. Realized that a couple minutes ago. But other than that, thank you so much for having us this evening. And of course, if anyone has questions, Princess or I or Catherine are happy to take them.
Yeah, can I just introduce Catherine, who's going to be the principal of the new school? And Catherine, you can just speak to why you're excited about, the opening of a new school.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Catherine Perez. I'm the founding principal of Democracy Prep in Durance Elementary School, and I'm so incredibly excited to be embarking on this journey with our families. Some exciting work that I've been doing recently in the community is canvassing out at the Westchester Ave train station, and in the surrounding parks, and in Little Einstein's daycare and Sunshine Daycare in the neighborhood, getting to know families. The families are incredible. They're so diverse, so excited, and really looking for an excellent option for their children for kindergarten and first grade. We are founding the school on all of Democracy Prep's values that Steve and Princess spoke to so beautifully. And in addition to those, really at the core is going to be the value of family, and just making sure that our families feel like they have a voice in our school community, and that they feel comfortable coming to our school, speaking to me, the principal, their teachers, providing feedback, and just really have a voice in the community. Joy is going to be a very big component of our curriculum, always asking the question, how are we making this engaging? How are we making this fun for kids? Our mascot is the unicorn, and that's very intentional, because the unicorn embodies the magic and the joy of childhood that we really want to feel and come to life in our school community, especially in kindergarten and first grade. And last but certainly not least, we're going to be incredibly focused on achievement, and just making sure that we're making good on the promise that we're telling families that your scholar is on the college path, that we are looking at the data and ensuring that all scholars are achieving, that we're identifying if a kiddo is struggling and figuring out what we need to do as a team to support them to meet the high expectations that we're going to be holding. So that's a little bit about our school, and more than happy to answer questions if you have them.
Yeah, I had a question. So you guys are opening 21-22 school year?
Yes.
And you're operating in Williamsbridge, correct?
As a temporary space.
And then you come to us in 2 years, or to our community. So you guys are building the high school here. I mean, the school here. So what grade are you guys anticipating to go?
Yeah, it'll eventually be to K5 schools.
In that building?
In the 1000 Westchester Square building. And Peter can speak more to that. It's being built from the ground up.
Okay. I think I'm thinking more of a long term, because I know you guys have like middle school to high school. So it's like, then after 5th grade, like, are you guys planning to open up a middle school in the neighborhood and high school? Like, where are those scholars from the community going?
Sure. No, thank you for that. Great question. So we have Bronx Prep, which is a middle school at 3rd Avenue. So that'll be a natural funnel for them. And we also have 4 other middle schools in Harlem for people who want to make that move. But there is a natural transition to Bronx Prep.
Okay, and I had a question for you guys more on the like social emotional piece. I'm not sure if you guys covered it, but not just like I'm curious to see how you guys handle social emotional in you know, as a part of your school day, the curriculum, and also like what is your policy around like tolerance and stuff like that with like students?
Policy around what?
Tolerance, right? So you know, like suspensions and all that stuff.
Got it. Catherine, can I have you start, and then maybe Steve, you can add on?
Yeah, I can absolutely speak to that. So social and emotional learning is going to be a big focus for us going into next year. Some specific ways that we're going to work with staff and scholars, trained staff, and in executing with scholars is community circles within their classroom. And that's something that we want to start every day off with children. Acknowledging that we're not operating in a vacuum, that kids are coming into the building with feelings and with experiences. Some of them might be really great that morning, and some of them might have had a really rough morning, right? And so acknowledging that in the morning and giving them the space to do a self check on emotions, to have some mindfulness time, take some deep breaths with their class, and share some personal experiences about where they're coming from, how they're feeling, how they're ready to take on the day before the start of every day. In addition to that, when a kiddo is struggling to follow behavior expectations within the community, we have social emotional support desks in every classroom to ensure that if a child needs some calm down time, if they need to have a little fidget toy to get their mind off of something that's really frustrating them in the classroom, or something that we're providing them the space to have some self-reflection time, maybe even also, I didn't share, all of our classes will have 2 teachers. So one teacher could even go over to them and provide some one-on-one support as they're processing their emotions at the support desk, and just ensure that they can process that and they can feel successful overcoming that within the classroom without needing to leave the classroom. That's really the goal, that we're keeping behaviors in the classroom, and that we're equipping our teachers with tools and strategies to use to calm down our scholars and to help them manage their emotions in the classroom, rather than escalating so quickly to consequences and sending children out of the room. That's a practice that we want to stay away from, and more so work with children to keep them in the room.
And I can add on to that as well. Thanks, Catherine. In terms of the second part of the question, so what we call our approach to student culture, we call it a high expectations, high support model, which essentially means that we have high academic expectations, high expectations for behavior, but we actually think it's just as, it's probably even more important to have a ton of supports in place to empower our students to meet those high expectations. And I will say that with regard to discipline and suspensions, as Catherine said, the approach must be proactive. We've got to make sure that we are putting supports in place proactively for our students to make sure that they have really engaging lessons in front of them, so that we minimize any sort of misbehavior, because our students are so deeply engaged in the content with really enthusiastic teachers who love to teach their content. I think that proactive side is so important. And to be honest with you, in terms of suspension, that should really be treated as a last resort. And I would say that is especially true for our youngest students, for our students who will be educating at these schools, because we know that from a developmental standpoint, that while in very rare cases that might be needed, it genuinely should be a last resort, and we should be actually spending much more of our time and energy focused on proactive supports that are in place, and making sure that our teachers are instructing really engaging, rich lessons that students are just excited to be in class. So that's just the overall approach that we take in terms of student culture and discipline, and how that connects with academics as well.
Thank you so much for answering the question. I'm not going to ask anymore. I'm going to open it up to see if anybody from
Your committee,
from
because
the committee
there's
has
someone You only have Lynette, I think, on from your committee now. I don't know if Lynette has anything. Oh, you got Chairman Crespo, obviously, and Cynthia.
I have a question. So, you know, as the internet is very, it's a dangerous place. So if you do have students that start bullying over the internet, whether it's over the summertime or over the school period, do you address that?
I'm happy to take that. And then Catherine, feel free to jump in. The short answer is absolutely yes. So we have a no tolerance approach to bullying. I would say that, as you noted, in these times when we have everyone on laptops and so much is remote, that opportunities for that type of thing only expand and increase. But we actually take an educational approach to this first. I mentioned previously that we've got to be proactive, which means that we actually teach our students what it looks like to be, safely operating with a laptop, to be using technology appropriately and effectively, and why, on the flip side, bullying in general, or in particular cyberbullying, is absolutely not acceptable, because we have to have a safe community where every single one of our students in our community feels safe to be able to participate, show up to school every single day in a joyful and structured way. And so that is something that we absolutely do address. Again, as I said, we take a proactive approach, an educational approach first and foremost. But of course, if that does happen, then we absolutely do address it clearly, because we would never want to have a situation in which any student would ever feel uncomfortable or unsafe through bullying that happens in the school building or otherwise. We definitely do address that very actively.
Thanks, Steve. And I could add to that Steve spoke to the proactive approach. When these things happen, though, parent communication is like the first and probably the most important step to make sure that our families are informed and that we're working together to support them. On the proactive side, some things that I've implemented with our families in the past is like educational opportunities for them to understand, like, how do I monitor my scholar on social media? There's actually a lot of like great apps out there that some people don't know about that help them monitor their children on social media, and just equipping families with these tools, telling them what we're seeing so that they can have those really important conversations at home is so important. And then when an incident happens, we like to do like a learning assignment, and so maybe a research activity into bullying, or watching a video and writing an essay or writing a letter, so that the scholars learning from the misstep that they made with the situation, learning how they hurt somebody's feelings, learning how they impacted the community. And then like the final step to that process would be a restorative circle, which is a conversation between the person who caused the harm and the person that the harm was done to, and then obviously an adult facilitator who is facilitating that conversation to help repair the relationship, repair the harm that was done to the community, and help the children learn these skills to understand the proper communication to use when you do have a conflict, and how to resolve those issues.
Thank you. Okay, I have another question. So everything has changed with the way we were taught and the way you guys are teaching now. So my daughter went to a school where right before they were about to switch to another subject or another lesson, they would bring the parents in and teach them, so that way we can reinforce it at home. Is there any way that you can do that with these parents? Because everything has changed. It's like there's no more 7 planets. There's no more, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Everything has changed. So I can say, me as a parent, when I had to help my child, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I can chime in there. So one thing that I think the pandemic has opened a lot of opportunities for us to get really creative in terms of parent communication. And I think it's actually like helped us see like how much more often we can be communicating with families. One thing that I've implemented throughout the pandemic is like Zoom Q&A sessions with families, where it's just like a general time where families can zoom into a meeting with me and my leadership team and just ask questions, any questions that they have, whether it relates to COVID safety matters or whether it's with the math that their student is trying to tackle in their class. And so I think providing those opportunities for families where they feel comfortable to just come and say like, hey, I don't know how to support my kid in this area, like help me, I think is really important. Another wonderful thing that we provide is we provide something called iExcel, which is a learning platform that kids can use at home. And so if a parent doesn't know how to support a scholar in a specific skill, the student can log in at home, and then the parent can choose the skill for them to log on, and they can work on it independently on a tablet or a Chromebook at home. And one great thing about Democracy Prep is we're one-to-one with technology. So if they needed technology, they would absolutely have that to use. And then on the proactive side, we have we have meetings called Coffee and Conversations with family. And one of the topics that we do really early in the year is around math and how to support your scholar in math, and like actually teaching families like some of the basic strategies that we use, so that when a kiddo goes home and they're not like doing multiplication or subtraction the traditional way that we learned when we were in school, that they know how to support them.
I have a question. I have some questions here.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, you want to go?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rob.
I have more like operational side things. I want to know how long the lease is.
Can we have someone from the landlord answer that question?
I know Peter left.
Yeah, I think Peter hopped. Dan, I can take this. I do not have the lease right in front of me off the top of my head. I believe it's right around 33 years, just above the 30-year mark.
Okay, but just above the 30-year mark.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Who's gonna? I want to know about operations. Who's gonna handle the operations? Is that falling on the management? Is that falling on the school? And I want to know something about like school safety, security, and so forth.
Of course. From an operating kind of operations perspective, the school will be responsible. So they're going to have their maintenance, custodial team, etc., and that'll be selected by and managed by the school.
Okay. And I guess like a safety plan or security plan for the school. Thank you, Ricky.
Of course. I may defer to DP, and I'm sorry, I didn't start with an introduction. My name is Ricky. I am the school's project manager. But KP, what were you saying?
Sorry to cut you off, Ricky. I was just trying to help with the safety plan question. All public schools in New York City are required to have a safety plan, and at Democracy Prep, we implement a really robust safety plan that principals, operations managers, and directors of operations all work together to make sure that every school has an individualized safety plan. That includes things like, what do you do during a lockdown drill? What do you do during a fire drill? All the different types of safety drills that we have during the school year. And in addition to that, like relocation sites. And so that requires us to build partnerships within the community and partner schools to ensure that we have a strong partnership and a relationship. So God forbid an emergency happened, we had a safe way to relocate our children to a safe place.
Can we have it just like what if you have a detailed security plan, you can just provide that to the board. That'd be great to have.
Okay. And I think one thing that we didn't mention that I think is worth mentioning, and you can probably hear it from the way Catherine speaks with such authority about these and other matters, is that she's a seasoned principal. She's been a principal at one of our middle schools for a number of years and is coming over to our elementary school. So she's not a new principal and has done this for a number of years before, which is great.
That's good to hear. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph, and thank you for the presentation to everybody. And thanks to Peter Fine that I know he had to leave to another meeting. But I have the district manager asked one of the questions, and so did Cynthia, about how you deal with the troubled parents if parents have some difficulties with the children in the sense of what they're learning versus translating it to the parent and letting the parent know that they're doing it right. I heard from you, Ms. Perez, that you'll have some Zoom meetings, you'll have some coffee and cake. I hope I get invited to one of them because I love coffee and cake. But and Ralph also asked about the security, which they both know, both Cynthia and Ralph know those are some of my pet peeves. I need to ask. I'm sort of confused because you call yourself the Democracy Prep Public School, and is it a public school or a charter school?
Sure. Great question. So it is a charter school network, but from its founding, we wanted to be very principled in the fact that charter schools are a part of the public school system. So that was the reason that it was intentionally named Democracy Prep Public Schools.
To get us more confused. So my issue is, as it pertains to charter schools, and I've had this discussion with Mr. Fine. This community has been sort of a magnet for charter schools. But what we've noticed here in the community is that there has not been a tremendous outreach for our kids in our schools in our neighborhoods to go to the charter schools. And I know that there's a test that's taken in order to get into these charter schools. And so I just wanted to know one of the things I wanted to know is, what is your recruitment for kids? Because I see you're already at Williamsbridge, I think you said, first and second grade. So I guess they're being transferred to the new school once it's done. So that means they're in the fourth grade already, probably. The second graders will be in the fourth grade.
We're opening in September. So we're not there already. We're opening in September with kindergarten and first grade.
In Williamsbridge?
Yes.
Okay, because if you would have told me over here, I would have said, I don't know what kind of construction Peter's doing, but I'd like to see it. Right. But fine, that's happening. That's going to be your first and second graders, but they're going to be transferred over to here.
Correct.
The long range picture is coming to the school over here. Correct. So my concern is then what happens to the below grades, and because I see it's K-5. So what happens to the below grades, and what happens to that 1 or 2 grades that are above it? How do our kids? I have a problem because our kids suffer. Bad enough they already suffer because they, unfortunately, when they say they live in the South Bronx, they already stigmatized with a South Bronx mentality outside. But one of the things we've always said to the charter schools is, how do you recruit our kids? How do we know our kids? A school right down the block where you guys are going to be at, 116, has 2 charter schools inside. And the buses that are there, they all bust from other parts of the Bronx and maybe from Manhattan. So, it's sort of a concern that it's not our kids that are going to the school.
Got it. No, thank you for that. So Catherine has mentioned, and one thing that I think Democracy Prep prides itself on is making sure that every member of our team is willing to roll up their sleeves and get into community. So Catherine, as the principal, or in resident for this year, has been out in the community canvassing to get students and families to come to the school, and we will continue to do that. We are we canvass pretty much all year long in the communities where our schools are, to make sure that families know of us and of our presence, and we want to be community schools as much as possible. This actually, coming to the Bronx with the elementary school is actually from, you know, what we heard from families. We have 2 elementary schools in Harlem, and you know, a number of middle schools, and still about 60% of our students in our Harlem schools actually come from the Bronx. So that was the reason why we decided to make the strategic move to open an elementary school to go with the middle and high school that we already have, but in the Bronx specifically. And so, you know, there are a lot of schools, but like we want to make sure that the communities directly surrounding our schools are benefiting from that. So any way that we can partner with you all or any organization that you think that we should partner with to make sure it is as much of a community school as possible, we are, you know, open and listening to make those partnerships happen.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Princess. And I also want to address the comment that was made that children have to take tests to get into our schools. Children do not have to take tests to get into
I'm sorry, I didn't mean your school. I mean all the charter schools.
Yeah,
in
I
Norfolk.
appreciate that clarification. And
Yes.
I just want to be crystal clear. Children do not need to take a test to come into
Thank you.
democracy prep. One of the points that Steve made was that we serve all scholars, and all
Right.
scholars mean if you have an individual education plan, if you have ICT on your IEP, if you've hopped around and been to a few different schools and haven't found the right fit, and you come to us, like, no matter who you are, we're going to do whatever we can to serve you the best way we can. And I also just want to put a plug in and name, like, I'm incredibly passionate about serving children in the community and being a community school. I will share, I'm 7 months pregnant right now. I have a baby on the way.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And regardless, I am hitting the pavement on Westchester Avenue, and I am passing out flyers with my mask on and giving hand sanitizers to families and getting those applications filled out, because I want to serve the community, and I want to make sure that we are a community school serving the children and the families there and providing an excellent education option. And so, yeah, we're incredibly passionate about that. And if you have any leads to where I could find more children to come to our amazing school, I would gladly take those leads and find those.
I'll give you the first one. Send us the flyers and we'll do a massive mail out to our entire district. Okay.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Thank you.
You touched my heart. You touched my heart when you're telling me there's no test. I'm not a good test taker. I could tell you that right now. You give me a test, I'll fail. You give me a verbal, I'll win. That's the way it happens to be with me. And I know that there's a lot of kids that they see a test, they panic. And they may be great kids, great students, but they panic. And that's why I'm always objecting to charter schools giving tests, because it's not helping the people that they're supposed to help, you know. And I'm glad that, Ms. Lyles also stated that, you have 60% of your Harlem kids that are going to the Harlem school come from the Bronx. That helps us quite a bit. There's just a couple of things that always run through my head when it comes to charter schools, because not all charter schools, I believe, as friendly as they are inside, because they are friendly inside, but they're not friendly outside. And I know of a couple of charter schools, we've invited them. They really have not made a strong effort to be part of the community. And one of the offers that I will be making now is that when you're ready, I would love to have somebody from your staff to be part of the education committee, or to be a board member of the committee, of the board representing the school, because that helps us in getting a better vision of what needs to be done when we have these kinds of forums. So I extend that invitation and that hope that you guys will take us on in becoming a member of the committee, or a board member of community board too. So with that, I also want to know how many floors and how many students are in the building. because that's a big block. I drive through there every day. I live right around the block. So I see it. I says, this can't be a school. You know, this can't be a school. There's got to be something else coming up. And so my district manager tells me, Bobby, no, it's going to be a school. It's going to be a school. Peter tells me, oh, no, it's going to be a school. But I see that big blot. I mean, that's a lot of space.
So that's because, and Ricky, you might speak to the specific number, but it's because it'll be built out to 2 K-5 schools. So there'll be 2 separate entrances.
Yeah.
So, but there'll be 2 democracy prep schools. But you're right. It is more space than is probably needed for one school. But there's going to be a rooftop garden and playground and okay. 2 separate entrances with a dance theater, like it, and Ricky can speak more to it, but this is our first time building from ground up for Democracy Prep. We're really excited about it, and it should be a really nice space. But Ricky, I don't know if you want to add.
Of course, yeah. Thanks, Princess. Just to expand on what Princess mentioned, one additional piece: the ground floor will actually have a portion of it be a retail component, and the school will have space on the cellar through the 6th floor. And there are various setbacks. So when you look at that site, don't think of it as the entire lot kind of building up, because immediately on the 2nd floor there is a very generous play space. So the building will be much smaller, kind of rising from the 2nd floor through the 6th floor. And as Princess mentioned, and KP and Steve, their core programming is very important to them. So we wanted to make sure it is 95,000 square feet for 2 schools. And it's because we do have those special classrooms. We do have a fantastic gym, cafeteria, music room, art room. So we did not want to diminish the programming for this new community that Democracy Prep is coming into.
But you did say that there's going to be retail on the 1st floor.
On the 1st floor, yes. But
on the 1st floor on the Westchester side, or 1st floor on the Fox Street side?
On the Westchester side, and the school will have an entrance on Fox Street and on Simpson Street.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So they don't mingle.
No, they're completely separate. Yes, the retail and the school populations will not mingle.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your curriculum. I really, music and dance and all of that stuff, it's something that I think will help a lot of our kids here. So thank you. Thank you very much. And you have my full support on that, whatever I can do on that side.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. What's the percentage of new students that is going to be invited to the school? If you have 2 separate schools coming in, but how many new students are you going to allow into the school with?
Right, they didn't give us the number of total students.
Oh, I see.
And the number of total students, that's what the chairman was asking.
Oh yeah, thank you, yes.
And will there be an autistic or IEP specialist in the school? Because we have a lot of autistic or IEP children in this district.
Catherine,
you asked the wrong question, Cynthia.
Do you want to speak to like special ed programming?
Well, the unfortunate part is that when you talk about autistic kids, and I got 5 grandsons that are autistic, but when you talk about autistic, unfortunately, when I was coming up in school, they used to call it special ed. Now we've come to realize that a lot of it is not really special ed. It was just the thing of challenging autistic children, getting them, understanding them, getting the IP tests and seeing what they needed, where they were short on. So I think that's where Cynthia is going. And again, how many students are going to be in the entire school?
Sure. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to speak briefly generally to the special education programming, and then of course, Princess, if you want to comment the numbers there, and then Catherine, anything specific to your vision in terms of special education programming. But I will say personally, as the superintendent of the network, I started here as a special education teacher, taught at our first high school in Harlem. Taught all different types of grade levels and content areas, and that There are some charters that actually don't put a huge priority on that. As a network, Democracy Prep puts critical priority on supporting all students. And that might be a student with a learning difference, that might be a student who has a 504 plan, that might be a student who is on the spectrum in terms of autism, that might be a student who's an English language learner. All students learn differently and uniquely. And so our program has to make sure to be targeted towards that. We also align our staffing plan to that. So we have teachers who are special education teachers. We actually call them ACT teachers, which stands for Academic Collaboration Team, because what we don't necessarily believe in is just to sort of exclude students with IEPs and put them in a separate space. We actually believe in a model where whenever possible, we have an inclusion model so that our students from a social standpoint also feel really welcome, regardless of IEP or anything along those lines. And as Catherine said previously, we have teachers who are trained specifically in special education teaching, but also just in general, each of the classrooms, there's a two-teacher model. So even if that's not specifically a classroom in which there are students with IEPs, we still have that team teaching model to make sure that students who might not have a diagnosed learning disability, who also just need more support, have that support of having the added adult in the room, even if they might not necessarily have an IEP. So again, I think all students learn differently, whether that's a student with an IEP, et cetera, a student who has autism. We've got to make sure that our staffing aligns with that too. From a central network standpoint as well, we also have a central office with a team of special educators as well, whose specific job is to make sure that the teachers who are at the schools are getting good training, specifically in the area of special education, and then also making sure that the IEPs are written really, really effectively, are really, really detailed, so that when it says IEP, that really does mean individualized education plan. It's actually individualized to that student. So we really work hard to plow resources into that priority in general as a network, and that's definitely going to come alive in our schools here. But I'll pass it to you, Catherine, if there's anything that you wanted to add specific to your school.
I think you did a really good job covering it. The only thing that I would add is our school's going to have a special education coordinator. We call it an ACT coordinator, because special education at Democracy Prep is called Academic Collaboration Team. And that's like a teammate who is trained in special education, who is also a special education teacher at the school, who's like a liaison for parents, between parents and leadership, to ensure that scholars are getting their needs met, and that if parents feel like the IEP needs to be improved, or more services need to be added, or less services need to be on the IEP, that the coordinator is pushing those things forward for families.
Thank you.
And yeah, to speak to the number of students, when the schools, so it'll be 2 schools. When it's fully built out, it should be about 850 students.
That's for both schools? That's like
for both schools.
425 then, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many grades is it?
K through 5.
So is that six levels, right? 6 grade levels?
Right. That's right.
Okay. So you're looking at about 80 students average, 80 students a grade, maybe something like that?
About that.
Okay. Thank you.
And have you located, because I'm sure that some are going to be transported in through buses. I don't know if you saw right now on Fox Street, there's always a lot of buses there for the other charter school. Do you have a special location you're going to use, or how you're going to bring your kids in and disembark off of a bus, or get on a bus?
We honestly have to look more into that.
Please do, because right now, that little area with the 2 charter schools at 116 and what you're bringing in with 850 students, which I would say maybe a quarter of that is brought in by buses. you're talking about a lot of buses in that little area. A lot of buses. So you'll have to figure that one out.
Got it. No, yes, thank you.
I want to go back to the number of students. 850, right? How many? And you're gonna have 2 grades already starting at Williamsbridge, bringing them over. So how many students are you bringing over? Like you're expecting to transfer from Williamsbridge to the new school? And then can you project when you're doing the lottery, how many other students are coming in at what grade and what year?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're gonna start at a different location, right? And then with 2 grades, then you're gonna come bring them here to Westchester Avenue.
Correct.
How many students are you looking to transfer over? You know, how many are gonna transition over to the new building?
Sure.
And then what's the plan for increasing enrollment? Like what's your enrollment plan and how is that gonna be rolled out?
Sure. So when we come over, the schools are not gonna be fully built out because it will go, the schools, once we get to 1000 Westchester, will eventually both go to 5th grade. But when we get there, they should be going into 2nd and 3rd. So there won't be that number all at one time. So we come over and then a few years later, it'll be fully built out. So in the initial phase, it will not be 850. It's when the schools are fully built out a few years later that we get to that number. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then the enrollment. I mean, I know it's a lottery process. We would certainly want to see outreach conducted in our immediate district. And of course, we want to see a high number of our residents selected, but understanding it's a lottery process. And I think that comes down to just outreach in the community. So what's the plan? What's your plan for that?
Sure. Yeah. So we currently, even now, we send mailers twice to 3 times during the recruitment season to all students that are within the encatchment area for the grade levels that we're serving. We canvass the areas. We go into housing developments on a pretty normal basis. We have done a community scan for actually both areas to look at community organizations. We are putting, information in local bodegas. We're putting information in penny pincher. So any and everything that we can do to make sure we are reaching local community members is what we want to do. Again, if there are organizations that you know of that we should definitely be reaching out to, please let us know, and we are totally open to that. We want to be a community school and continue to be that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm sure my office will follow up
Okay.
with you guys, and in particular, Cynthia, possibly with Captain Perez. That'd be great.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I don't think I have any more questions. I was just curious to see. So I do have one question. I'm sorry. So the 2 elementary schools, they're going to be operational at the same time?
Correct.
So Catherine, are you going to be the principal for both schools?
I will not. In our first year of operation, I'll be the principal of both schools while we're at Williamsbridge. But in our second year, I will be transitioning over the second school to another leader within Democracy Prep.
And what's your student-teacher ratio?
Well, we have 2 teachers in every classroom, and there's about 25 children in a class.
Okay, and you guys are coming in under School District 12, is that what it is, right? Or when you transition into this area, like what school district are you guys coming under?
Yes, 12.
Right? Okay, so then School District 12 would be, I guess, one of the preferences in the lottery.
Correct.
All right, and what other preferences are you guys offering? I know you offer a sibling preference.
Sibling. Those are the two, sibling and district.
Okay. And do you know how much percentage goes into like district preference of your lottery?
How much percentage?
Let's say for K, you're offering 120 seats, right? Let's just hypothetically speak.
Mhm.
How many of those 120 seats are coming to District 12, right? Like in your lottery, how do you do you preset it and say like 60 seats are coming to District 12 or whatever the case is?
No, so I mean, we could take, I mean, so there's a sibling preference. So if we had, say, 10 siblings, they would get the preference. But if we had 110 other District 12 students, then they would get, those are the students who would get in. Does that make sense?
It does.
There's no like cap number.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense because I'm thinking about folks applying from the district and folks applying from outside of the district, right? So like, what if you get all right, that makes sense.
No, district has, I mean, after siblings, district has the first preference, and there's no cap on it.
Right. Sounds good. I appreciate you guys taking the time
Time
to.
out, Yvonne, I just wanted to share some information with them. Just like this, in the next 5 years, this community population will have a major explosion because we have, what is it, 745 new apartment buildings coming up in Hunts Point.
No, not
Not-
apartments. We got
Apartments.
over 1,000 apartments in 2 different projects.
Right, 1,000 apartments in two different projects. One not too far away
I'm
from.
sorry. You want to? Actually, it's 1,200. 1,200. 501 on Whitlock and 700 in the Peninsula.
Right, and that's apartments. So you figure times 2, you're talking about 2,400. If you look at a composition family of a father, mother, and 2 kids, in those apartments, you're looking at about 2,400 kids coming into this community. And so I just wanted to share that with you so like that you see the numbers that are coming in. And that's within the next 3-4 years. So hopefully you could see that. And as an attraction to the community, you could tell them that in the next 3 years, Amtrak will be here also. So, if you get somebody from Connecticut or someplace out there, you can attract them down here. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
that means it should be all District 12 students in the schools.
But you said it, not me.
I would actually want the preference to be geographically, and preference students in that reside in Bronx Community Board too. That would be a preference, and if that's something that we can make a recommendation, then I would want to make that recommendation for sure.
Got it. Okay. We will look into that.
All right. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to us about Democracy Prep. I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Good luck with your first year opening up. And yeah, so I look to partnering up with you guys in the future.
And
Yes,
the
thank
offer's
you.
still there to come out and become, you don't even have to wait till it opens. You could become a education member now, and start working with us and start working with our great chair.
Not only that, they can follow our social media and see all the events that we have for the district residents, and they can just join us. We have a Halloween parade coming. We have Christmas events coming.
You
And
might
we
even have a
always
back to
involve the
We
school.
might back to school event we're gonna have also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
We'll definitely follow you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you guys. This was a great presentation.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
And I think that's it. That's it.
Something about a breakfast for all schools in the district.
Yeah,
No,
that's
you guys are okay. You guys can leave. You don't have to worry. If you want to leave.
Thank you.
You can hang too.
Cynthia, would you be able to just give me the information for your social media so we can follow you?
Yeah, definitely. I'll email you in a second.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and it's a
Thank
tag.
you.
It's on our signature on the bottom of that email. So
Got it. Okay,
all the links
thank
there.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, we got another item, just a breakfast in the schools. I know that was something that we did 2 years ago. We always are looking to, we're always exploring, ways of trying to get everyone together. And due to the pandemic, obviously in-person meetings and a breakfast might be challenging. But it was just something on the item, it was an item on the agenda that the office felt we should just bring up. And
No,
then
absolutely.
a bunch of announcements.
Of course. No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think we should do it again. I think for me, I just been going back and forth because it's been a really like tough year already. Our ending tough year for the schools, right? Just them trying to figure everything out with social distancing and just the whole new lunch and everything, rerouting their whole school year. So I was thinking we should just do it fresh for the beginning of the following school year. So starting like ending of August, early September.
That's fine. I think that gives us time
I'm
to
correct.
come up with a plan. And I would encourage if we can possibly, because I know it was you and Jill Roach, that coordinated the last one. So maybe reaching out to Jill, picking her brain with this also, that would be great.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Any old business?
I think the last meeting that we had the superintendent, I think that went very well. And we just need to continue to follow up with school district 8. That was school district 8. I'm going to reach out to Jermaine, my liaison with the Department of Education, to see if we can get school district 12 also in. Advise them that we did meet with
That's
Democracy.
Devontae, isn't it? And that's her name.
Devontae Grant. Thank you, Cynthia. Devontae is my liaison. So I'll reach out to Devontae. I was corrected there. My error. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. No, that's exactly, I'll reach out and see if we can get someone from school district 12 now, to attend the meeting, and, just hear what they're looking to do in our district. So we have, school district 8, school district 12, and they both cover a portion of school district 75 in our community board. So I'll
Can I ask a question? Because Yvonne, you deal with the charter schools. Is there
Mhm.
any way residents can, like, you see how we are with housing that we're like, we want 50% for community board too? Is there any way that we can do that when it comes to the lottery with the kids in this district?
So the way they do it is tricky. That's why I went into the school district, right? That's why I asked them specifically to
Yeah.
school district. So for example, us at Girls Prep, we do mostly community district 8, right? So most of our students come from community district 8, which is mostly from the community.
Okay.
So that's why I asked. So like the preference could be like the school district. That's just how they have it set up. So they do preference by siblings. Some of them do it by employees, like we do it by employees. They do it by the school district, and some of them even give it to priorities to like families that live in housing and shelters.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure once the first batch graduates, they won't have any more siblings, so it would be easier for our students to, well, our residents to get in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just there's so many new apartments coming into this
But
district.
I'm also curious on how that's gonna like function, just like the families transitioning from here to over there and from over there to here.
Well, she said the majority of them are from the Bronx anyways.
Right, but so what I'm saying is like, let's say, right, the school's opening up in Williamsbridge. Only those families that probably live on that side or that don't mind commuting are going to go to that school, right? It's going to be very rare that I would see a family coming from here to going to Williamsbridge just because A, they don't have like a car, and B, like the transportation is a little bit challenging, or the commute will be a little bit of a challenge. So I'm curious to see how that will unfold in terms of students transitioning from either side of the Bronx to go to the school. But I think that if they keep it at school district 12 and give the preference, I think our students will be fine.
That's good to know.
Well, in this side and the school district 12, right? Because we also have it divided in school district 8. So and it also depends on the number of applications that they get as well. That plays a big factor too.
Right. Because then we can also concentrate our outreach efforts.
Correct.
The school
Well,
district.
I was just telling, well, between me and Yvonne, I haven't seen anything from this school posted anywhere.
We'll follow up with that then. They know that we're watching them, I guess.
Okay.
Ralph and Yvonne, when we had the superintendent last month, there was another young lady with her that is now the deputy superintendent.
Erica Topia, I think her name was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it?
She said she
Hired.
wanted to meet with us because they had no idea of how many kids we're expecting in the next 4 to 5 years. And they wanted to really sit down with us and talk with us about that.
We could follow up then. I could try to email her and Devontae and
Right.
just say, maybe I don't know about for next month, May, but at least June.
For June, yeah. I was gonna say.
Invite them back.
Whenever, it's not for another 2 or 3 more years, but I don't know how long, school planning, because
Yeah.
it was a step that we missed when we brought school construction, which was school planning division. And so I don't know how long they need to make this thing happen, but we should start moving at it at least by June, so like that we can document it and make sure that everybody knows, including District 12.
Yep. Okay, we'll do.
Right?
Yeah, I agree, Ralph. If they, I mean, and I know that they still had some questions that they had to answer in regards to like summer school and what the plan looks like for the following school year, all that stuff. So if we could get them for June to at least for them to provide an update on all of that, that'll be great.
All right, perfect.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yeah, you guys. Any new business?
Well, Earth Day is Thursday now, so I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to formulate our own little committee for that.
We're not.
But if we hear anything that's happening, we'll certainly post it, and we may send it to board members. That's fine.
I already sent everything that's going on. They're doing something in 972 Simpson Street, with the right around the corner from the job. They're doing in the farm that they have. Well, not farm. I'm sorry, the garden that they have there. They're doing a cleanup. There's a couple of cleanups going on in the district and then throughout the city. So I did send that today. It was like I sent like 60 pages of information today.
You did. Took up a lot of my space.
Good. I'll read it and delete it.
We can go right into the announcements then. We have a bunch of them and they're all posted here. Yeah, so this is like our new what would we call this? Our new
Social media.
Yeah. So we're blasting this out so people know where to follow us. The direct links. We got some ICP classes. I have honestly about 30 flyers here. So
but everyone here has received it except Jose, and I could send that to you, Jose, if you like. It's like 60 pages long.
Don't send them nothing. Don't send them nothing.
It's only 60 pages. We got you.
all right, cool. So I'll go back up to the agenda, and we're done. Actually,
Yeah, because everyone else has received
agenda.
it.
Now we're up to adjournment.
Can I say one thing, please?
Yes, Jose.
I recommend that the buses pull over on Simpson instead of Fox.
You mean on Tiffany?
No, the school, if I'm correct, this school is going to be on Fox and Simpson Street.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out, because the only thing I see in Tiffany is a little corner. Remember, they got the
No, you're
people
right.
that
You're
kill
right.
the goats over there.
It's on Westchester between Simpson and Fox.
Right. I recommend that they do it on Fox. I mean, you could put the no parking signs there from 7 to 4. That way the buses could make a U-turn and come right back out. Because right now, like Crespo said, we having problem with buses here. And every day at 8:30, 7:30, I'm out in the street with my grandson to try to get him on the bus for the traffic to flow quickly. But then we have problem with individual humans that drive their vehicles to drop off their kids. They don't know how to double park.
They don't know how to park.
They actually stop in the middle of the road to watch the kid go inside the school.
So you're suggesting at the Horseshoe on Simpson?
Yeah.
Well, they said there's gonna be 2 entrances, so that's gonna be an issue.
Unless
one
they're
on
gonna
They're gonna
Fox-
have to do a drop-off point at both locations, which rather at the same location on Simpson, so it can be easier and to alleviate the traffic on Fox.
I mean, they could drop it off on Westchester, the corner of Fox and Westchester.
Yeah, but that's a bus route.
Yeah, that too.
Rick
And
Sherman,
not to
hi.
mention, not to mention
Meeting
the.
is over.
Okay. We'll Jose, we'll take that into consideration, and when they come back to us, we'll talk about it. Because it's true, you know, I mean, we know how many buses are there already. We don't need an
I'm outside every
oversaturation.
morning.
No, and I drive by in the afternoon. There's 2 places I don't go to, 163rd and then Westchester. I don't
Me
drive through there in
neither.
the afternoon.
Oh, 163rd is whoever organized that new road thing with the traffic. I don't know what they were thinking about.
Blame that to your
I
mayor.
guess we can email them that. We can ask them what are the bus stop requirements as well as just the information they can send to us.
Unless they're usually small buses.
No, they're not.
That's it, you're not.
They're not?
No. The
So-
small buses are usually for the autistic kids and for like the
Special
ones that they have to monitor more.
Yeah, special needs,
Yeah, special needs.
you know, but you know, it's something that we could look at, and when they come back, because they're gonna come back, we can then discuss the route for the buses. That's
I think we should email them before that. That way they know what to come into the next meeting with.
I don't have a problem. If you and Ralph can put up an email together concerning the possibility of the bus routes, then we'd be
So what are the bus stop requirements and the locations
right.
of drop off? Okay, no problem.
Well, we do know that on Fox Street, we already had Peter Fine for his apartment building give us a schedule of when the buses actually to drop off kids at 116. I call it 116. So
Me too.
so we gotta just follow up with that, because if they could follow that same schedule, it wouldn't be that bad of a conflict, you know?
No, it would. They can't be on the same timeline. They have to be different timelines because then it gets really congested. I've tried turning there when I had to move my car, and I've gotten stuck to the point that I left my house like at 8:45, and I would not make that left until like 9:30.
You're a bad driver.
Another suggestion is that
because I don't want to hit the
you could have the school 116 drop off their kids at
on
Tiffany
side.
like they used to.
Were they still?
It's a
don't
bigger
they still do
lane.
that?
No.
Well, they consider the main front on Fox because something happened with the Board of Education commissioner or whoever it was.
Because the metal detectors are on Fox Street.
Ah, okay. Okay, I see.
I think we need to get all of the schools involved and see how we can fix this, because that's a really bad traffic congestion site.
Well, you know, when we speak with Ms. Tobin, we can talk about 116 on that side,
Okay.
you know, and see how we can come to an agreement on that side. She may have to bring the principal, you know, in a later meeting, but that's not, I don't think that would be a problem. But in the meantime, Cynthia, you and Ralph can put an email to Ms. Perez and to Princess and see what how many buses are they possibly talking about, and where would be the drop off, and what are the criteria for the buses.
Okay. And if they're going to be a new crossing guard there, because that's a dangerous intersection.
That's another thing, and we have to talk to the 4-1 about that.
Okay. So you know what? Next time we'll invite the 41st precinct.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hungry.
All right.
We're good.
Yvonne, I'm coming downstairs. I'll see you in a few minutes.
I got some bananas for you. Lynette,
Yeah,
do you
of
have
course
any
we know.
questions?
She didn't cook today.
I mean it. No, I didn't. Lynette, do you have any questions? Anything to say?
No.
I actually had the same question that Bobby asked already in regards to where the kids that were going to the school, what community they were coming from. So that was what I wanted to know.
Awesome, awesome.
We're
All right,
on the
guys.
same page.
Awesome. I mean, the weather is still light outside, so I'm excited. I'm sorry, guys. That was my daughter and my dog. It's light outside. The weather is nice. Please enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much for coming and
Thank
being a
you.
part of the education committee today.
And thank you for doing such a great job.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Richard.